Welcome to day 5. Today I want to talk about what really gets developed when you're developing intuition. There are a lot of courses out there, books, ideas and concepts about how to develop this organic skill called intuition. But what else gets developed? What other parts of you, what other aspects of your emotional self, even your physiology, what gets developed when you turn your attention inward toward the development of the self in this way? Not only what gets developed, what changes within you, but what do you do with it? What do you do when you discover your intuition? What kind of changes, perhaps, does it require you to make in your life, if any? It doesn't really have a protocol as far as you must live this way now that you've recognized you're an intuitive being, along with a cognitively intelligent being. What do you do about all this? I think it's a really valid and important conversation to have, albeit in this context, a one-sided conversation, but perhaps it will provoke some thought in you as well. One of the things I know from very personal experience as well as a teacher in the realm of intuition, energy medicine, and healing is that when your intuition becomes more engaged in the process of your self-discovery, as well as the discovery process one goes through as you learn to develop your intuition and how to apply it, your nervous system changes. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be so sensitive that you can't go here, you can't go in crowds, you can't handle bright lights. My sense is those things bothered you anyway. They may become more heightened in the beginning stages of your intuitive development while your nervous system changes gears a bit. And when your nervous system changes gears, the rest of you does too, chemically. Adrenals can become more sensitive, as well as just other aspects of the way you think and move through your life. Suffice it to say that the majority of my clients are on some level of spiritual path. Usually everybody has at least one foot on the path, and some have been rolling along for quite a number of years. And that's fine with me. Actually, it's preferred because they understand the context in which I am working and trying to assist them. One of the things that I have always noticed, and I'm sure you have as well, is that intuitive people can spot another intuitive person pretty quickly in a crowd. When you've been practicing meditation or yoga or Tai Chi or just working on yourself through psychological means, self-help, self-growth, spirituality, even in a religious context, in a prayerful, contemplative way, you can usually spot each other across the room because empathy is quite the radar, and that is a significant and foundational level of the intuitive faculty, is to be able to feel with your body's radar, which is your nervous system in various levels of capacity and ability. But what do you do with all of this? This is a challenge for some people because not everybody is destined to be a spiritual teacher, to go into the clergy. The days are long gone when young women went into a cloistered situation, into a nunnery. We don't have that global culture in that way anymore. Young men don't go into the priesthood or become a monk as often as they did in the past. Everything's changed. And that is as it should be, because we're evolving culturally as well as a species, as well as our intellect and our intuitive faculty is becoming more and more prevalent. And you can tell by the inventions and innovations in our culture. So how would it be best for you to apply the burgeoning intuitive faculty within you? And also, how is it affecting you? Does it make you more anxious or nervous? Do you get a little more egocentric because you know that you know and you know that you're right? Does that ever happen to you? I think that's an important thing to look at. And remember, intuition comes in from a neutral point of view. The voice of intuition is always very even. So if your personality would take that information, that neutral information, and turn it into something that would be more self-righteous or pompous or grandiose, I think that's a really important thing to self-examine. Oftentimes when we're developing our intuition, it's really kind of unnerving and yet very exciting when we start getting the quote-unquote intuitive hit. And people get really excited about that, and I can understand that. It's really fascinating to me. And, I still get into a place of awe. I think that's the best word to describe it. A place of awe and amazement at the way intuition works, the way that faculty works and drives information in from seemingly unknown sources and plops it right in your mind or in your visual field or in your auditory faculty. And, it's just right there. All of a sudden, it's just right there. And a circumstance happens, or you're speaking with someone and you get feedback, or I've had instances where information's come in and I've looked it up online and it's accurate. And it still blows my socks off when I'm wearing socks. But it doesn't make me think that I'm better, than my current self. It just proves what we are to me. That's the way I look at it. It just proves what we are. That we're these amazing, obviously multisensory beings, human beings that have so much capacity that we're not using. That's what it shows me. I know it's very valuable to keep your ego in check when you're developing your intuition. It's okay to get excited and acknowledge your own development because it helps build your self-esteem and self-confidence, more importantly, because competency and confidence go hand in hand. If you have greater competency, you're going to be more confident. The more confident you are, the more you're going to seek out the skill sets that will allow you to develop even more competency. It's a loop. I know a lot of intuitive people, beyond the fact that we're all intuitive, that again, it's a natural, organic part of who we are. My son, for instance, is, and yes, I'm his mom, but it's still true, he's off the scale intuitive. And he applies his skill in art and design, architecture, and as a mountaineer. Boy, do you need to be intuitive when you're climbing and scaling mountains. And also as a preservist in the Sonoran Desert, mapping and tracking trails. I come from a family of teachers, and they're all extraordinarily intuitive. I know a gentleman who, in his earlier 20s, owned businesses in the Pacific Northwest, and when life changed, he moved to Arizona and met a Aztec medicine man who had a clinic in Tempe, Arizona, and was asked to become a protege. So he worked for this gentleman for several years, learning healing in Aztec medicine. He still sees clients privately, but how he applies his intuition on a day-to-day basis is that he owns an executive recruiting company, placing senior executives, top-level executives in the financial services industry, matching people to the right job, the right company, the right firm. So while it's important to develop yourself and your intuition for the purpose of developing yourself, you don't necessarily have to jump into the healing arts. For me, I just know I didn't really have a choice. Even though I was going to apply my intuitive sense in architecture, drawing on my lifetime love and study of anthropology, creating structures, homes, and buildings that would intuitively support the way human beings move through their life and their personal spaces. But that wasn't where I was supposed to end up. I still do that. I help human beings move through their personal life and space, but it's more the interior space and directions in their life, offering them suggestions based on the information I receive from them. Intuition for me is actually a reporting device. I consider myself a reporter. When I go into someone's body or energy field, I am reporting what I hear, see, feel, and know in regard to their intention, or anything else that's tangential to that they didn't happen to ask. And that's one of the interesting things about a session. As I mentioned in day 1, I ask people what I can help them with. That's the first question. And when we get going on that question, and they may have a list ready to ask more questions, but those questions, those secondary questions, typically get answered as the information is always connected within the field, within the body, within the psyche of the person with whom I'm speaking. So perhaps this day, day 5, has provoked more questions than giving you answers, and I think that's okay. Intuition is an inquiry device. It will allow you to receive answers to your questions, but it also can provoke more questions. And I love that about intuition. I love that about who we are as human beings. Our lives are too deep and mysterious to know everything all at once. The universe is too deep, vast, eternal, and mysterious, so there will always be surprises. We live our karma day to day, experiencing the power of our choice, using, hopefully, our intuitive sense and deeper knowing to make those choices, and keep moving, keep living, keep being present, keep doing the best you can. We're never going to be done. We're eternal. Your soul, that infinite, eternal part of you, always has a bigger agenda. And when you can develop yourself and your intuition to flow with that larger part of yourself, the truest part, your quintessence, then you're going to live a life that is in more alignment. Doesn't mean it's easy, doesn't mean it's always simple, but it will be in alignment. And there's a deep, deep river of satisfaction and contentment that you can genuinely feel within yourself when you are aligned. After all, I know you can feel it when you're not. I know I do. I'll leave you with this today. What part of you is developing as you develop your intuition? Until next time.